And nearly 72 hours after a primetime football game came to a silent standstill, doctors now giving an update on Damar Hamlin. They have said that he began to awake last night. He's still on a breathing tube, so he's not speaking. But we all remember he collapsed on that field after what appeared to be a routine tackle and suffered cardiac arrest. And just moments ago, the doctors gave an update, said he's still in critical condition. He is still ill, but he is making some promising progress. Listen here.
We would like to share that there has been substantial improvement in his condition over the past 24 hours. As of this morning, he is beginning to awaken, and it appears that his neurological condition and function is intact. He continues to undergo intensive care in our surgical and trauma ICU.
Dr. Mark Siegel is standing by for us, but first to Garrett Tenney. He's got the latest. Garrett, what else did the doctors have to say?
Well, we are in a very different place now than we were just 24 hours ago, Sandra. As you heard there, the doctor said there has been substantial improvement over the past 24 hours. What does that mean? Well, the doctor said that Damar Hamlin is now moving his hands and his feet. He's holding hands with his family, medical staff, and team officials who are there at the hospital. They say all of this marks a really good turning point in Damar's care. When he emerged last night and came to, he was able to follow commands. He is communicating by writing and nodding his head to answer questions. The doctors say they have talked with Damar about what happened and that he was surprised that he had been out for 2 days. The first question he asked the doctors was who had won the game, to which the doctors said, yes, you won. You have won the game of life. As you mentioned, Damar is still intubated and on a ventilator. Doctors said the next step they would like to see is for him to be breathing more on his own and then eventually breathing completely on his own. And the doctors were asked about the prayers that have been pouring out for them as well as Damar across the country since Monday night. And they said they have absolutely felt the power of those prayers and that Damar is just now being told and starting to get some type of an idea of the outpouring of support that there has been across the country for him and his family over these last several days. Sandra.
Garrett Tenney on that for us. It's great to get the update there. I'm sure we'll hear more about his progress as he continues to make it. Thank you very much, John.
All right, let's bring in Dr. Mark Siegel, Fox News medical contributor and professor of medicine at NYU Langone Medical Center. You can imagine what is going through Damar Hamlin's mind right now because, you know, the last thing that he remembers is that tackle. And then for all intents and purposes, in the moments after that, he dropped dead. And now he's waking up from a coma. But the great news is that doctors say there's no neurological deficit.
John, I find this extraordinary. Dr. Timothy Pritts, who you just heard from, the head of general surgery there, and believe me, surgeons are never overstating optimism, is saying he appears neurologically intact. As Garrett Tenney just said, it means he's moving his arms, his legs. He seems to understand. He's opening his eyes. He's responding to questions with his hands. And the idea that he says who won the game, I mean, not only is that uplifting, from a medical point of view, I have to tell you, retrograde amnesia is automatic in a situation like that he wouldn't remember the last 2 days, of course, but that he remembers the game is a really, really good sign. And that question he asked is so exactly what an all-star safety would ask, isn't it? So it shows why they're saying that he appears to be neurologically intact. We still don't know what caused this. The doctors said, the head of the ER said, we're still working up his heart, trying to figure out why this happened. We've all said it could be that there isn't a structural problem with the heart, that it just got hit at the wrong part of the cycle. That still could be it. They talked about lung damage healing. I don't want to speculate, but I want you to know that during a cardiac arrest, sometimes the lungs do get injured, but they can be easily fixed with a chest tube. We don't know if he had one, but that's something on my mind. You know, or he could develop fluid that they got rid of. All said, he's requiring much less oxygen. The ventilator is there as a precaution. That's what they would do. They tend to be overly conservative in this situation. I want the viewers to know, you know, they could say, well, why is he on a ventilator? Why is he still sedated? They always do that. They want to be ultra cautious and not pull things back too soon.
That's great information. 24 years old. You hope that as he goes through this healing process, he's so young, he can bounce back pretty quickly here. We'll see what the progress is. But to your point about his lungs continuing to heal, he's making steady progress. Doctor, you're jumping in.
Yeah, because you just said, I've been hearing from one of our top cardiologists at NYU for the last few days, and he keeps saying, I think he's going to get better. And I say, how do you know that with all this going on and we don't have any information? He said, to your exact point, Sandra, because of his age, because he's 24, because he's strong, because he's, in NFL shape, all of that works to his advantage.
Doc, as you pointed out, the physicians there that are looking after him are still trying to determine why his heart stopped. One of the theories that's been postulated is this idea of commotio cordis, where a blow to the heart at specifically the right time, and then you see the narrow window there, that red line that illustrates when the blow would have to come. We've seen it with baseballs, lacrosse balls, other things. Was that shoulder to the chest in just the right place at the right time? But, Doc, we're talking about milliseconds here in terms of the window of opportunity for this to happen. But then there's also, could it have been hypertrophic cardiomyopathy? Could he have a valve problem? Could he have some sort of innate rhythm disturbance? We just don't know at this point.
John, all great questions. By the way, that commotio cordis is usually much younger, but you can see it at his age. And you're right, it's usually a foul tip or a lacrosse ball. Happens most commonly in baseball, but it is very, very rare. And we don't know. As far as hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, that's the most common, but I'd have to believe the NFL would know about that. A simple EKG could tell you that usually. So valve problems, underlying, coronary problems like Pete Maravich, the basketball player, had, all of that has to be investigated very closely. We all want to know what the echocardiogram shows. By the way, one other point. We learned today that there were 4 emergency room physicians on site, on hand, at the game, rushed to help the staff of the Bills. And what an extraordinary intervention that occurred here. Amazing. It really makes physicians look good, ER physicians.
Doctor, we're just getting some breaking news right now via AP sources. On the game itself, they're reporting the NFL will not resume that Bills-Bengals game that was suspended Monday night after Hamlin went into cardiac arrest. And that is all that they're reporting right now, that game will not be played. Remarkable to learn that in the moment where we just got this update on Damar's health. And the doctor said the first thing that he was able to communicate when he woke last evening, and it wasn't verbally because he still cannot speak, but he wrote on a piece of paper, who won the game, doctor?
That's unbelievable, and it's so stirring, and it's exactly what you would expect of a top-level professional football player. And I like what the doctor said in response. You've won the game of life, and that's how the NFL has to look at it, and that's how the Bills have to look at it, and that's why I applaud this decision not to resume this game. This game cannot be resumed unless Damar himself were on the field, which, again, we have no idea where this is heading in terms of his life, whether he'll ever play football again. But for sure, it certainly looked like he's going to recover.
Well, so far, great news. We don't know if he'll ever be back out in the playing field again, but I have a feeling, looking at his tenacity, his interest in love of the game, and his physical condition, that he might just be back out there. Doc, good to talk to you. Thank you.
Absolutely.